All
No
right,
problem.
we had Drake Porter here. If anyone wants to raise their hand for questions, we'll get started for Drake. Arrow, if you want to go first.
Sure. Drake, first of all, now that you guys have had a couple days to kind of look back at the game from this weekend, was there anything that you guys kind of noted and kind of want to work on?
Yeah, I think there were defensively. We looked at kind of ground balls as like sort of a point of emphasis, and I know the coaches talked about it, but we were doing a lot of ground balls all week, and some of them I think we could have had, and then some of them, were you look back at the game and they had about four where I like watched it and I was like, I've never seen a ball bounce like that. It just kind of went right into their sticks, and then they were able to finish in front. So I think there's a level of, maybe we could have been better, but also let's not kill ourselves too much here looking back at film, because some of those, I mean, I don't know how that happened. It's sort of one in a million, and it happened a couple times. So I think there's it's never as bad as you think it was, never as good as you think it was. So yeah, I would say ground balls are an emphasis.
Mm-hmm. And then kind of switching up, the short sticks this year, what have you kind of seen out of them, especially Donnie and Brandon, some of the younger ones?
Yeah, I mean they're super talented. I think we have veteran short sticks, and I think that's sort of an advantage we have. I know other teams always struggle with their shorties. Our teams like to attack short sticks, and we've got super capable short stick middies. So and I think they're all playing pretty well. I mean, really well, to be honest with you. Relative to other teams, I think we got the best short stick midi crew in the country. We're excited, and I'm excited. I'm definitely blessed to have them in front of me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Ben.
Hey, Drake. Owen Seawolves has had a big breakout on offense this year. I know you're, kind of on the other side of the field, but for a guy who's been your teammate for a long time now, does it excite you, or how does it make you feel to see him, get to show what he's been doing in practice now on the field?
Yeah, I guess 4 years now. Owen's been scoring on me in practice constantly. So it's nice to see him go out on the field and do it to some other goalies. I always knew he was capable. I was just sort of waiting for the breakout, and it's definitely happening now. It's cool to see him dodging from up top. That was new, and it was something in the summer when we shot around. He was in Syracuse for a little bit, and I had never really seen him dodge and shoot from up top before, and he was definitely scoring on me a lot. So seeing him kind of break into that role kind of seamlessly is really cool, and just happy for him breaking through, because we all knew he was capable for a while, and now I get to show everyone else.
When you're practicing with him, are you, like giving him notes maybe on stuff that make it difficult when other guys dodge from up top and exchanging, or are you more just kind of serving as a goalie for him to get reps on and you to get reps as well?
I think maybe the first time he was shooting on me from up top, I may have said like a thing or two about, shot placement and different things he could do. But since then, he's, it's hard to get pointers when he's scoring on me a good amount. So I just kind of, I have good reps for both of us, and I've been silent since. He's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Tyler and then Nate.
Drake, Stony Brook is averaging 15.75 goals per game so far. So what have you been looking for in film this week and trying to stop that offense?
Yeah, the offense they run, they definitely like to go fast. It kind of reminds me of like what Hobart was doing last year. A lot of like down picks, early offense, trying to catch teams off guard. And I think the first few games they definitely were catching teams off guard with just how fast we were going. But I think that was an emphasis for us in practice this week was, these guys like to go. They like to go to the net fast, and we need to be prepared, and not be caught off guard like these other teams have been. So that's been a huge emphasis for us, is just getting in, getting matched up, and just being mentally ready for them to go to the net at any time.
Thank you. Next one, Nate.
Hey, Drake, I wanted to ask you just kind of like a personality question a little bit. Like, I think it's been kind of well documented. You're kind of a fiery guy. You like to, juice your teammates up and stuff. When did that start for you? Like, why has that kind of become, your calling card in cage, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it never really was before. I think now, just like the lack of fans, I think we all need to sort of get each other going a little bit. Just because the crowd isn't necessarily there to do that. I know, like in the past, Syracuse, the fans are super knowledgeable of the games. So it's like they know when to cheer, even for stuff that I think at other stadiums they don't necessarily know. So I think now it's just, with no fans or even limited fans, like it's sort of on us to get going, even for like the small, like juice plays, like defensively, if guys are doing certain things, I definitely like to get fired up because the crowd might not be there to do it anymore. So I guess that's sort of a role I've had to fill in this year. I didn't really expect myself to become that guy, but I guess that's what I'm doing now, and I'm happy to do it. So
I guess it helps when your play backs it up too. Like, you're coming off 20 saves. Like, you feel like you're seeing the ball as well as ever right now?
Yeah, I mean, the ball's the ball. I got the same thing every game. I just got to save it, So I think this year is no different. You try not to overthink it, really. I mean, that's just the biggest thing for me is don't buy into any of the narratives or different stuff you hear about. The ball's the ball. Get your stick to it. Get your body to it. Hopefully you keep it out of the net.
What's a narrative?
I mean, I don't know. Like, that's a trap question. I guess after like a game like Army where I don't make as many saves as I'm used to making. Everyone, I get a lot of texts like, "Oh, bounce back," stuff like that. I mean, and then you just sort of laugh. You're like, I guess I could bounce back, but it's the same thing I do every day. I'm just trying to stop the ball. So don't try not to think too much about stuff like that.
Sure. Thanks.
No problem.
Next, go to Ben.
Second time in a row, you guys are playing a brand new opponent, first Vermont, now Stony Brook. What's it like to play a team for the first time? Are there advantages, disadvantages that go into that?
Actually, we've played Vermont in scrimmages before, actually the past 3 years, so we were weirdly familiar with them. But I think coming into a new game like Stony Brook, it's honestly exciting. It feels like we're sort of the only time I got to experience that was tournament time. Before, I think it was Loyola and then Yale when I was a freshman and not playing. But it's really cool being able to play a team for the first time. You're sort of each getting a feel for each other in the first quarter, and there's not a lot of expectations for how the game's going to go. So it's exciting. I think there's a lot more work on film that you have to do, which is always exciting. I'm excited. I'm excited to play Stony Brook. Never played them before. It's going to be cool.
Thank you.
Errol?
Going back to I think what Nate was saying, and your answer to it, like what are some of the little juice players that you guys wish that like the crowd would cheer for that maybe sometimes they don't?
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify, the Syracuse crowd, when they're there, does a great job of recognizing the small plays. I think like a big ground ball off a face-off, for example, let's say, like in practice, it may seem like super standard, but in a big game, the Syracuse crowd goes crazy. Like if Durst, for example, gets a big ground ball, and I think we recognize like how knowledgeable the fans are who show up. Everyone's there. Everyone loves lacrosse. So that's awesome. And then when you're in the dome and there's no fans, that type of play doesn't get the same emphasis. So trying to bring the juice just for small plays like that. And then obviously the boys are going to get going for goals. So yeah, I would say that would be a little explanation.
Awesome. Thank you.
Ben?
So Owen Hiltz has been great to start the year. And he's one of a long line of Canadian offensive players who have played there. Obviously, you're from Canada, so you've played against a lot of Canadian offensive guys. How do they differ from Americans in any way stylistically?
Yeah, I think stylistically it's mostly about just being able to operate. Two things. You have to be able to operate in traffic. A lot of that comes from the box game. You always have a guy on you, and you have to, when you have the ball, there's not a lot of times you get your hands free. So you have to be able to operate with guys on you. And then the second thing is just accuracy and deception with shooting. They're used to shooting on smaller goals all summer with goalies and a lot more padding. So they get really good at sneaking the ball into small spots and making the goalie move with a little deception. And I think that's, one thing that Canadian shooters, in my experience, have always been better at is getting goalies to move and then sneaking it in those small windows. And he appears to be doing that right now with his shooting. I think he's shooting at I don't know the percentage, but a really high percentage. So I think he's showcasing what Canadians are kind of known for.
And is there any sort of recruiting pipeline? Like if Desco sees that there's a big Canadian prospect, is he going to ask you to reach out to them or something like that to try to bring him in?
I mean, I hosted Owen Hiltz on his official, and they normally have me talk to the Canadian recruits when they're trying to bring him in. But yeah, I mean, I didn't think I was going to be here when I hosted Owen last year. I thought I was just bringing in another Canadian, and then for him to be able to become my teammate, we ended up texting after that weekend and stuff. When he committed, I was really happy to get another Canadian here. So that stuff's always cool. And now we get to be teammates, and having a Canadian guy on offense, obviously pretty exciting for me.
Awesome. Thanks.
Back to Tyler.
Drake, a lot of talented offensive players on this team. Owen not being included in that group. Being that you see them all in practice every day, who is the toughest to go up against in practice?
I'd say just as a goalie right now, Tucker Dordovic. For whatever reason, I have not been able to save him for this spring. Like early in the season, I was wondering if something was off with me, and then I think like barely any goalies have saved a shot when he plays other teams. So it makes me feel a little bit better about myself. And it's exciting to see him going out there and lighting it up.
We got time for one or two more if anybody's got them. Otherwise, we'll let Drake hop off here. Good. All right, guys. Thanks. Thanks, Drake, for hopping on.
Thank you.
Thanks.